Hi, I'm Dr. Amanda Nyman-Peters, and I'm a professor of leadership at Holt International Business School. In this segment, I'm going to give you an overview of a model called Working with Influence. This is a model based on robust behavioral science, and it incorporates 9 principles of persuasion for 21st century leaders to gain more influence over outcomes and decisions and people than they have had previously. To take you through this model, I'm going to share with you some visual material to make it easier for you to follow along. Now, at Holt, I teach both leadership development skills and data analysis. So soft skills and hard skills. Now, often I get the question, well, why do we even teach soft skills? You see, when it comes to teaching hard skills, things like data analysis, visualization, coding, or macroeconomics even, if you don't have any experience with those things, you tend to know you don't have any experience and you have to be taught some skills. However, when it comes to soft skills, these are things that people have a daily experience of. Communication, collaboration, influencing people. These are things where we're gaining our own personal experience all the time. So why would we teach those things? Well, this is where being a data analyst is actually helpful. You see, when you learn purely based off your own experience, the data set from which you're drawing is very limited and it's very subjective. It tends to help us understand what has worked for us in the past, but it doesn't show us, for example, if we could have been more successful if we'd done something differently. And so soft skills faculty and professors and trainers like myself, what we do is we use objective, evidence-based models for what is the most effective approach. And we use that as a benchmark so that whatever toolkit you already have, you can improve it and add to it based off what science has shown is true. Now, if you've ever before worked with a model for influencing, there are a number of them out here. But the reason for generating this particular model is that we really needed an updated model that was relevant to 21st century workplaces. You see, the model that is most well known and is used in many places around the world was created by this gentleman called Robert Cialdini. And his principles of persuasion are very effective and they're very interesting. And it was a good model at the time. But here's the thing. That model was generated in 1984. And what that means is that we have 40 years of additional research from areas that didn't even exist previously, like neuroscience. And we can draw from so many of these studies to get a better understanding of what truly influences people's behavior and decisions in the workplace. It's also true that this model was really US-centric, and that's not the workplace of today. Today's workplace comes from all around the world, and so we needed a model that took into account studies from all over Europe, from Africa, and from Asia, so that the principles that we're focused on are truly universal. But perhaps most importantly, why we needed a new approach to influence in the workplace is that Cialdini's model is fundamentally based on selling. His research was conducted in telemarketing and used car yards in an era where you could be forgiven for treating influence like it was a one-time sale. But in today's interconnected global workplaces, we need a model for influence that enables people to build their social capital and build stronger, more collaborative relationships, rather than borrow from those relationships in an attempt to influence somebody into doing something that they may or may not want to do. So this is why we need a new and 21st century appropriate model to the new workplace and to the new approach to influencing. Now, the model is divided into 3 sets of 3 principles to make it easier for you to think about how or when to apply one of the principles. The first 3 principles are all related to the people with whom you're interacting. So the people-related principles include status, which is all about what is your relative rank within a group, and that has a massive impact on the influence that you wield. How can you nudge that to increase the way that you're perceived in the group so that you can gain greater influence? Principle 2 is all about the social norms that people are already adhering to in the group and how you can tap into that. Principle 3 is about the sense of affiliation that people feel towards you. And if you're a leader with a lot of authority, you might be used to just relying on the fact that kind of people have to do what you ask them to. But if you can tap into that principle of affiliation, people will do what you're asking them to do because they want to do this for you, not because you're in charge and they have to. The next 3 set of principles are all related to people's perception and how you can tap into that in the way that you design your message. Principle 4, which is all about what are the values within which you express your message and what are the benchmarks you use to influence people's perception. Principle 5, which is the effort that it takes for somebody to comply with your request. And a quick note on this, the less effort involved, the more likely they are to do it. It seems obvious and logical when I say it, but this is something that we rarely apply in our attempts to influence people in the workplace. Principle 6 is reasoning, and this is an important one because science shows us it's the most likely strategy that you will use in the workplace in an attempt to persuade another person. But science also shows us that the approaches you're probably using today aren't as effective as you think they are. So principle 6 is about how you can do this better. The last 3 sets of principles are all related to your own behavior. The first principle, or principle 7, the first within this section, is about understanding what is the most likely outcome in a situation and how you can tap into that and go with the flow instead of trying to fight it. Principle 8 is about all the ways in which our brains and the brains of those we're attempting to influence are programmed to be distracted easily and how you can shut out those distractions and focus on the outcome you're after. And then finally, principle 9, which is execution, is all about the science-backed models for how we hold our bodies, how we pronounce our words, and the emotion that we use when we speak, so that our executing attempt will be so that our influencing attempt will have maximum power. A couple of final perspectives on the working with influence model. Firstly, and most importantly, your influencing attempt should be neither forceful nor unethical. I get a lot of questions about this. Is this about manipulating people or controlling their behavior? And the answer is no. You can't control other people's behavior, at least not in any ways that are legal or ethical. So what the working with influence approach does is it helps you understand the processes that are happening in other people's brains anyway. This is what's going on at a deep subconscious level. And so your knowledge and understanding of those processes enable you to tap into what's already happening and just present what you have to say in a way which fits with those processes. Most of the time, your attempts to influence won't even be visible, let alone forceful. And at no time do you need to say anything to anyone that isn't true. It's just about taking the same information and packaging it in a different way. It's important also to recognize that expertise is not an all or nothing phenomenon. And in actual fact, to build your influencing skills, what you need to do is work through successive micro improvements, step by step by step by step to improve. Because what we also know from science about your daily skills is that if you're not actively trying to improve them, the chances are that you're not actually improving. You're simply using the same skills that you've always used before, but putting them in different situations. What we also know from science is that the risk of not learning and of not improving is at its highest when you're under continual pressure to deliver. Because when you're in a workplace where you have to deliver results, you will simply fall back on the tools you've used over and over again. And so this opportunity working here today is about how you can put aside the things you already know how to do and try something different so that you can improve your expertise little by little by little. I hope you have fun.